fear teaches us a lot. Fear is a really powerful teacher. And I was actually just talking to a client about this yesterday, how fear is actually a very weak frequency, that we only perceive it to be more powerful. It's the perception that fear has power. Fear is not powerful because the moment you decide, I'm not scared anymore, it's fragile and it breaks.
Do you remember the first time you ever received a sound healing experience?
I remember the first time I received vividly, like it was yesterday, but lifetimes ago. I was in LA at this yoga event for International Yoga Day, and I had no idea that there was actually going to be a sound healing at the end. And it wasn't like a short sound healing session at the end. It was an entire long session of sound healing. And so the body was a little bit exhausted from the yoga that I had just done. And I was laying in Shavasana and a few different sounds happened. I was like, wow, this is incredible. I don't know what this is, but I am loving it. And then there was one particular frequency that elicited tingles throughout my whole body, but not in a good way. In the frightening, oh my gosh, what is this? Scary kind of way. And then that tone started to scare me would be a strong word, but there was fear involved. And I thought to myself in that moment, how can a sound scare me? This is really fascinating to me. And so no, I wasn't like terrified for my life or anything crazy like that, but I was noticing that there was fear in my body from an experience that you would think was going to be light and airy and woo and magical and all of these things. And yes, it was that. And it was also scary. And so I was laying there and I was receiving, and then it went into some really beautiful melodies and harmonies, and I loved it. But afterwards, I had to go straight beeline to the facilitator and ask her, what was that? Because I don't know what just happened, but I need answers. And she was this really amazing, like, surfer chick, and she was just so grounded and mellow. And she's like, oh yeah, so that was probably your root chakra. And I'm like, what? And she played the tone just to make sure that was the one that was like bringing the fear. And I was like, oh yeah, that's it. And it was the deepest root tone. And she's like, you probably need some root healing. And so I'm like, okay, I'm not exactly sure what all of that entails or what that means. It was very elusive, like shadow work, right? Like people talk about shadow work, but they don't know what shadow work is until you're doing the shadow work. And then you're like, oh yeah, this is shadow work. It was similar to that. And so I came home from LA and I went to a crystal shop and they had a root chakra bowl. And I was like, you know what? This is what I need to do. I need to work with it and through it, not avoid it and hide from it. And for whatever reason I was called to, I purchased that bowl. And it was my first sound bowl that I ever had. And it was just for myself, just so that I could figure out why I was scared and do some of this root chakra healing. And I had it on my coffee table. I would play it every single day. If I would be walking through my living room, I'd just play it or I'd ding it and I'd keep on with my day. Eventually, Quinn started playing it, my son. And before I knew it, I became really entranced by this frequency, by this sound, and I loved it. And there wasn't a moment that I didn't want to be connected to it. And with that, I was also doing some other work, some internal work on myself. So it wasn't just sound healing, but it became part of my daily routine. And then from there, I realized, oh, I feel really stable. I feel really connected to who I am. I feel like there's a foundation now that I didn't necessarily have before. I was like, if that root chakra bowl could help me with this, I'm already intuitive, I'm already psychic, but what if I got my third eye chakra bowl and I was even more? And so I got really curious and got my third eye chakra bowl and played almost every day. And then I had new awakenings and new spiritual gifts come in and new understanding of how Source was speaking to me and new visions. And it was just a completely different world. And I was like, well, if I was able to open up with my third eye and heal my root, my throat could really use some help. I really could be empowered in how I speak. So I got my throat chakra bowl and played that for a very long time. So now I have 3 bowls that I'm playing with and loving and being in the experience of sound, again, just for myself. And then I was like, well, if my throat and my third eye and my root are feeling really good, my heart could really use some help. And so I got my heart chakra bowl and played that. And then before you know it, I collected an entire set of bowls that took me many years to gather these different bowls and be prepared and ready to receive, even from myself, these different frequencies, because it's so potent. The frequency is so powerful that sometimes you have to take it in doses. So my experience from receiving for the first time really put me on this path of becoming a sound healer and doing it for myself, but really it moved into something that is much bigger now.
I would love for you to speak to the person that might hear that part of you saying like, ooh, that was scary.
Mm-hmm.
Why is maybe that experience necessary and a good thing?
Yeah, fear teaches us a lot. Fear is a really powerful teacher. And I was actually just talking to a client about this yesterday, how fear is actually a very weak frequency, that we only perceive it to be more powerful. It's the perception that fear has power. Fear is not powerful because the moment you decide, I'm not scared anymore, it's fragile and it breaks. But you need to come toe to toe with fear to know that you are the boss, that you are in control, that fear is not the demanding one, that you get to direct what to do with the fear. So it is a requirement as part of the healing journey to experience fear. Fear teaches us what's important to us. Fear teaches us what we're afraid of. Fear teaches us what our limitations are, perceived limitations are. Fear teaches us the things that we need in a way no other emotion can teach us. So it is a necessary part of the journey. I've had people in group healing sessions bolt after sessions of like, I gotta get out of here. I don't like that. I'm not feeling well. I've got things happening in my body that are really unsettling. And then I have follow-up conversations with them later, and they're like, yeah, I didn't like any part of that. And I was like, yeah, you have to experience the things that you don't like in order to alchemize and transform that into something that you can handle, that you are brave enough and courageous enough to conquer, and that you can beat. If you have the power to face it, that's the thing that crumbles the fear. But if you don't look fear straight in the eyes, it has all the power. So it's a necessary part of the journey, and it's only as scary as you make it. So the encouragement is to take fear off the pedestal and be like, I'm just as powerful as you, if not more powerful. In fact, I am more powerful, and let me show you. So don't be afraid of fear. I like to say, give me all the fear. Show me, let me see where I need to work. And then I work through it, and then we get to new fears. So there's more fears. There's always more fears, but they can be conquered.
I want to bring it full circle because I love how we started talking about how you started getting into this journey and like picked up one bowl at a time and worked through each of them. How do you incorporate sound healing into your daily life now?
I play bowls every single day. And so it's incredibly important for me to stay in alignment, to do the work that I'm doing, not just the work that I'm doing for myself, on myself, within myself, but to be a guide and a support for the people who are coming to do the work for themselves. So it is an important part of my self-care to stay in alignment, to make sure that I'm receiving the information from source and my guidance and following direction and feeling when I'm out of alignment and honoring that and coming back into alignment. So I play for myself every single day, but also I do it for the people I serve. So it's beyond me. And that's really when I think you're in your purpose, of when you can come outside of yourself and know, like, this is actually for a bigger picture. Same thing with health, right? So I have a 10-year-old son. I'm trying to stay as healthy as possible so I can be in his life for as long as possible. Yes, it's serving me, but really it's to be connected to him for as long as possible. Same energetically. I want to be energetically aligned for me, but I also want to be the best guide and servant to the people that I am guiding.